The Champions League is finally back, and what a great match day one it was, filled with goals galore, fantastic play, and zesty matchups. Match week one of the group stage is now in the books, and let me take you through the results. The big win, or the biggest blowout win you could say, was without a doubt FC Barcelona, an angry Barcelona, coming off a 2-1 loss to newly promoted La Liga side Alaves, thrashed, destroyed, annihilated, you name it, just took Celtic to the woodshed at the Camp Nou, beating them 7-0. The worst defeat Celtic has ever suffered in European competition, and how fitting it happens to Brendan Rodgers, the manager, who just cannot teach his players how to defend, whether it is at Liverpool or Celtic. It's a common theme. I mean, there were 19 passes building up to the goal in which Lionel Messi and Neymar just looked like they were playing kickball with each other. They were just having fun as they just sailed and skedaddled right through the Celtic defense. It was embarrassing for Celtic, to say the least. Lionel Messi picked up a hat trick. He now has 6 Champions League hat tricks, breaking his tie with Cristiano Ronaldo for the record. So well done to him. And Luis Suarez bagged a brace. Meanwhile, Neymar had a goal and 4 assists. So, MSN really proving like they are on their way, at least, to becoming the most dominant strike force in the history of club football. In Paris, Paris Saint-Germain got off on the score sheet very, very early. In fact, about as early as it gets. The first minute, Edinson Cavani knocked home an early goal, but Cavani could have easily had a hat trick. It was more of a game about the chances he missed in a way than the chances he scored. So all in all, it is a disappointing result for PSG to come away with a 1-1 draw against Arsenal, in which Alexis Sanchez equalized in the 77th minute. Credit to Arsenal keeper David Ospina, of course the backup to Petr Cech, but he came up with some absolutely extraordinary saves in that match. Now, if you'll recall last season, in the knockout stage, Atlético Madrid was pushed to its very limit against PSV Eindhoven. PSV is a Dutch club that is very competitive, highly underrated, and can definitely play a factor in this year's Champions League, as I mentioned in my preview episode. But ultimately, it was Atleti that came away with the 1-0 when Saul Niguez had an absolute worldie of a goal. Just incredible score in a cluttered penalty box. You should definitely check that out from the man who scored the goal of the Champions League last season. And Andres Guardado missed a penalty kick that would have equalized, but that might have been a case of, as Rasheed Wallace would say, the ball don't lie, because apparently it was quite the controversial penalty call. Now, elsewhere, Benfica and Besiktas played to a 1-1 draw. In that game, Franco Cervi scored the opener in the 12th minute. But really, the story of that match is Talisca. Benfica said to him, "We don't want you. We don't need you. You can go." So, what poetic justice that he gets to face off against his parent club in the Champions League. And when he steps up to take a free kick in stoppage time, what does he do? He steals 2 points away from Benfica, tying the game at 1-1. And he celebrated big time. It was quite the sight to see. Hats off to Talisca. Now, FC Basel surprisingly went down an early goal against Ludogorets. But, for those who saw the Bulgarian side, the way they competed against Liverpool a couple years ago, it shouldn't come as that big of a surprise. Ludogorets is a club that deserves to be taken seriously. And, they got a goal right on the stroke of halftime from Jonathan Cafu. Obviously, not that Cafu, the legendary Brazilian. But FC Basel in the second half ended up bagging the equalizer. They needed to come away with at least a point at home, and they did, and they got that from Renato Steffen, but not the result Basel was hoping for to really, get the ball rolling towards a shot at getting out of the group stage and into the knockout round. Napoli, they played on the road to Dynamo Kyiv, and while Kiev bagged a goal, it was surprisingly not from the superstar Andriy Yarmolenko. It came from Denis Garmash, who scored the opener in the 26th minute. 10 minutes later, Arkadiusz Milik scored the equalizer, and Milik, is off to a flying start for Napoli, coming in from Ajax. He scored what proved to be the match winner in first half stoppage time. Bayern Munich clearly showing that they are a cut above when it comes to the pecking order in world football. Of course, one of the front runners to win the Champions League, as they seem to be practically every year. Robert Lewandowski scored in the 28th minute. Thomas Müller scored right before halftime, and I mentioned on my preview show that in terms of bright, up-and-coming young talents, Joshua Kimmich is certainly up there, and he scored a brace in the second half, while Juan Bernat put the cherry on top with the 5th goal in the 90th minute. Now, Manchester City and Borussia Mönchengladbach was a game that was scheduled for Tuesday, but had to get moved to the following day due to an absolute crazy monsoon that fell down upon the empty had. And I say the empty had because Pep Guardiola was pleading with his fans to show up in solid numbers, and of course they did not do that because Manchester City does not have a strong fan base. But, Man City, that did not stop them from getting a big win to open things up. They came out on top by a score here of, what did they win by? They scored a lot of goals. I know Aguero had the hat trick. Yes. 4-0. Aguero scored his hat trick. Perhaps my talk of Kelechi Iheanacho, coming up big and perhaps challenging for the spot, a little premature. But, considering Aguero's fitness issues, Iheanacho won't have much trouble getting the side. And it's worth noting that Iheanacho had the last goal of the match. He scored in stoppage time, while Aguero scored 2 of his goals in the first half and 1 in the 77th minute. So when we talk about guys who did not celebrate, the goals against their former side, not Talisca, but the man who decided to show a little more respect, I guess you could say, was Cristiano Ronaldo. Sporting Club de Portugal played a very, very good game against Real Madrid. They really held their weight, possessed the ball more than their fair share, and they controlled the game. So to see Ronaldo step up, for the free kick with Real Madrid down a goal for pretty much the entire second half, and then just drill it, boom, bam, bop. He just held his arms in the air, smiled, didn't do anything more. Strong sign of respect for the club that many say made him into the player that he is. Before, of course, going to Manchester United and then Real Madrid. And then in stoppage time, right at the death, James played a brilliant cross after coming off the bench, and Alvaro Morata made no mistake. I'm sure Real Madrid is very happy that they got that buyback clause as Morata bagged the winner. Real Madrid escaping with 3 points, and escaping is the right word to describe the way they came with that. But give them credit, they never gave up. Now, Juventus and Sevilla, when we talk about big clubs having disappointing results to open up Champions League play, it is certainly a disappointing result for Juventus. They did not score at home. Of course, they did not concede, but to only come away with a point against, albeit a strong Sevilla side, is not what you want to see. Gonzalo Higuain, just like he loves to do, missed great chances that he should have scored, just as he tends to do habitually in the big games. So, a lot that Juve needs to get settled if they are going to contend for the Champions League crown. But, with the way rules are changing in the Champions League, at least with entries and the way teams are fielded, it could be difficult for the smaller clubs out of the big leagues to make it through. So it's very important that we as football fans enjoy this magical ride that is Leicester City while we can. And, Claudio Ranieri said that the Champions League music makes you want to fight. Well, fight the Foxes did on the road against Club Brugge. They won 3-0. And, 2 years ago, Mark Albrighton was let go by Aston Villa. They did not think he was good enough, so what did he do? He left for Leicester City. He won the league, and he achieved what he called a dream come true by scoring the Champions League. He banged home the opener, and the passion in his reaction was what football is all about. And Riyad Mahrez, it just, what a wonderful player he is. World class in my opinion. Scored a brilliant free kick in the first half, and then scored the third goal of the match to give the Foxes the 3-0 win. Now, FC Porto drew 1-0 against the FC Copenhagen. A disappointing result considering Porto is a much bigger club than Copenhagen, and has stronger Champions League experience, of course. But Otavio scored for Porto in the 13th minute, while Andreas Cornelius equalized in the 52nd minute for the visitors. Really, Porto cannot be happy to come away with just a point at home against Copenhagen. Now, Lyon played a home match to open up their Champions League campaign against Dinamo Zagreb. And Corentin Tolisso opened up the scoring in the 13th minute. Jordan Ferry scored the second goal of the match in the 49th, and Maxwell Cornet banged home the third in the 57th minute. So, a variety of goal scorers for Lyon. That is the kind of start that you would look for a team that is returning to the Champions League, a team that is used to being in the Champions League in past years. So, a nice return for Lyon. But Bayer Leverkusen, it seems like it was almost a common theme to see bigger clubs playing at home not getting the results that they hoped for. Bayer Leverkusen drew against CSKA Moscow. Now, Ademir Mehmedi scored in the 9th minute, and then Hakan Kalhanoglu, a bright talent who I've mentioned before, put Bayer Leverkusen up 2-0 in the 15th minute. But if you get the chance to watch the highlights, watch Alan Jagoyev's goal. The first touch he made to control a difficult ball in the penalty box was extraordinary to set up his finish, in which he banged home, the goal that brought Moscow only one down. And then Roman Ermenko equalized in the 38th minute. So 4 goals scored in the first half, none in the second half, bringing both teams to a 2-2 draw. Now, the story that American soccer fans will love to hear is that Christian Pulisic started for Borussia Dortmund. And Pulisic is a very bright young talent who we've talked about before. And he became the youngest player in Champions League history to tally an assist. The kid's not even 18 years old yet. He is not even old enough to enlist in the military, much less have a beer. But he's already playing with some of the best players in the world. Guys like Mario Götze, who headed home the opening goal in the 7th minute. And, just a wide variety of goal scorers. There were nobody scored a brace. 6 different goal scorers. Socrates Papastatopoulos, Mark Bartra, the former Barcelona man, Rafael Guerrero, Gonzalo Castro, and then the man you would expect the most to score for Dortmund, Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang. So a goal fest at the Pepsi Arena saw Borussia Dortmund come away with the 6-0 win. Now, I've talked before about home teams disappointing. The biggest disappointment of all, Tottenham losing to Monaco 2-1. Both goals easily preventable from Bernardo Silva and Thomas Lemar. Toby Alderweireld scored in the 45th minute, but Mauricio Pochettino talked of a lack of passion, not acceptable in the Champions League. So Spurs, I expect a lot out of them. I look forward to seeing if they can bounce back in match week 2. Until next time, I'm Eric Abasar.